From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Testimony continued today in the trial of a former local hockey player accused of rape.
24-year-old Nolan Youngman, who is charged with 2 counts of sexual assault, faced his accuser in Fairbanks Superior Court. We have more on this in this report. Prosecutor Earl Peterson questioned the woman about the events that happened the morning of April 5th. The victim said she had gone out the night before and that she and her roommate Kelly Logue had gone home and were making a late-night snack. 2 men, Youngman and Kevin Petavello, who is also a former assistant hockey coach, walked into the girls' unlocked apartments. Logue knew Petavello and Youngman and invited them to eat. According to the victim, after eating a few bites, she went to bed. The victim said she was asleep and woke up with Youngman assaulting her. She told him, "We are not doing this," and to stop, but said that he didn't. She said after he was done, she yelled obscenities at him and then left the apartment. The victim told authorities 5 days after the alleged rape took place. When defense attorney William Ingaldson began his questions, he brought up alleged discrepancies in her story. He said certain parts of her story had changed since she first told it. The defense also asked why the victim did not scream for help when there were 2 people in the house. The victim said she was afraid. The victim also had previously said she had stayed in her apartment the entire following week. However, the defense produced pictures from social media showing her out 2 separate days at 2 separate nightclubs. After the victim was questioned, Petavello was asked to testify. He gave his account of the night, and when Ingaldson asked him about how he felt reading his police report, he told them Officer Carrington had gotten his statement wrong.
I took in pride to handle this whole thing with integrity, and I had a good conversation with Mr. Carrington that day, and when I had a chance to review those, I looked at one of his notes that he had made post-interview, and he quotes me for saying something that I didn't say.
The Fairbanks North Star Borough Assembly looked into a resolution that would move the borough one step closer to owning the Fox Spring Well. Mike Fussell has that story.
It's clean, cheap, and part of local history. Those were just some of the arguments posed by the public urging the borough to pass a resolution to take over the Fox Spring Well.
I'm definitely against the privatization of the well because it's a water resource. It's a natural resource. It belongs to the people. The state developed it. The people developed it. It should remain in the people's hands.
But not everyone was in agreement. Maintenance would cost the borough at least $50,000 a year when the State Department of Transportation intends to close the property by the end of June.
The only fair solution is to privatize the maintenance and operation of the Fox Well. It's really not a government function.
Assembly members weighed in after hearing what the public had to say. Several members say the political moves needed to transfer the land would not be able to take place by July. Lance Roberts added that the borough resolution would make it easier for the state to walk away from finding other solutions, such as nonprofits and private owners. Assemblymember Diane Hutchison says the question of what the borough should control as state government cuts services to meet budget shortfalls will only grow.
We have a state economy that people need to wake up to, and that's going to trickle down to the borough economy. Last year, we gave the school district more money. To fund one thing, we're going to have to be looking at cutting other services.
Rising concerns that the resolution would not meet its intentions to solely explore opportunities, but endorse the transfer of property, drove sponsoring Assembly member Matt Cooper to make an amendment. That change was passed, but the resolution ultimately failed in a gridlocked 3-3 vote, making the chances of the borough taking ownership of the Fox Springs Well much less likely. Reporting from the Assembly chambers, I'm Mike Fussell.
When we come back, the borough is looking at what it can do to change years of losses for the Carlson Center.
Also, speaking of the Carlson Center, today was the final day for the Go Red Conference, and a full house listened to testimony and health advice. Stay with us.
Welcome back. A school district committee is having a hard time finding ways to cut funds from the superintendent's proposed 2017 budget. The Citizens Budget Review Committee makes recommendations to the Fairbanks Board of Education about how they might best fund schools in the borough. Right now, the 2017 proposed school budget is up to $245 million from last year's. However, Chief Financial Officer Lisa Pierce says about $15 million cannot be considered guaranteed due to the ongoing Alaska legislative session. In response to possible funding shortfalls, the committee's preliminary discussions yesterday included decreasing support staffing, school programs, and Board of Education reserve funds. Committee member Becky Williams says the CBRC will carefully consider other suggestions in the weeks ahead.
On the committee for this is my 5th year, and every year we're dealing with significant cuts. So I really feel like it's bare bones already, and the goal is to keep class sizes the same. We'd all love to see them decrease. So there's not a lot of fluff for them to cut out. So I'm hoping that Juneau comes forward with the right numbers for us.
The Fairbanks North Star Borough is considering a new plan for operation of the Carlson Center. Meetings will be held and public testimony will be taken before anything is finalized, but the problem is reported to be financial. The borough owns the center and contracts out its operation. It provides subsidies to help run the facility, but last year it lost over $1 million. Borough administration has assessed the Carlson Center's fiscal situation and is looking at options.
The Carlson Center has generally been subsidized to some degree, and it's been pretty palatable to the Assembly and to the general public, but a $1.3 million operating loss and more expected in 2017. And considering the current fiscal situation, we need to fix it. We'd like to renegotiate new terms on the contract if we can, but if we can't negotiate new terms of the contract, the borough, we're prepared to take over operations on July 1st. We're starting to set that up now. We're trying to be proactive and plan ahead.
It was a sea of red today at the Carlson Center as more than 600 people attended the annual Go Red for Women event. The American Heart Association hosts the gathering each year to educate women on the risks of heart disease. This year's keynote speaker was Andre Beeman, a food educator from the New York area. But the real stars were those who had experienced various impacts of heart disease, including one wife who lost her young, fit husband to a massive heart attack. She says the signs were there, but they failed to recognize how serious the situation was.
So if I had had the knowledge, and if he had had the knowledge, we might have actually, just gone to urgent care or something and just gotten it checked out. I think we're so worried about being embarrassed when we go to urgent care or the ER if it's nothing and they tell us, oh, you're just having indigestion or something. But I would rather be embarrassed and still have my husband today than to have gone through losing my husband and my children's fathers.
Senator Lisa Murkowski has voted in favor of the North Korea Sanctions and Policy Enhancement Act of 2016, a bill to impose more stringent sanctions on North Korea. The bill passed overwhelmingly in the Senate with a vote of 96-0. Murkowski spoke on the Senate floor prior to the final vote, saying Alaskans take great interest in the legislation because our geography requires it. She said North Korea's actions demand a decisive response.
The sanctions are severe, and they are targeted at those who enable Mr. Kim's regime to conduct business abroad. They're also intended as a wake-up call to Mr. Kim's advisors, but life is going to be a little bit tougher under our sanctions regime. No more luxury goods, no more creature comforts, no more access to hard currency. No exceptions.
Up next in sports, Mike Fussell will have an update from Joe Cook, who is down in Anchorage for state hockey.
Plus, the votes are in and the play of the week has been decided. Those stories and more with Mike the Muscle after the break.
Welcome back, Interior Sports fans. Mike Fussell filling in for Joe Cook, who is on assignment. You'll hear from him in just a little bit, but we begin the Friday Sportscast with another look at the Yukon Quest standings. The top 5 dog teams have left Dawson City, heading to the Pelly Crossing checkpoint. Brent Sass was the first out last night, just before 12:30. Sass is maintaining a first-place position by less than 10 miles. Alan Moore is on his heels, having left Dawson a little after 2 in the morning. And while on the topic of mushing, we do want to mention that a decision has been made on the Iditarod start. Things will kick off from Willow as normal. And now we'll get the lowdown on what's going on down south with the UAF-UAA basketball rivalry and the state hockey tournament. Joe Cook has this report.
The Alaskan Annex and Anchorage Seawolves met for their final regular season matchup on Thursday night, and this one had postseason implications. Alaska wanted payback from an overtime loss at home, and they had a chance for redemption. With that fresh on their minds, the Nanoks also wanted to give senior Trevante Williams a good send-off in his last game in his hometown of Anchorage. But this is a rivalry game, so the pleasantries would have to wait. This game was tighter than yoga pants in the first half as both teams matched each other shot for shot. Williams came out hot though, scoring 16 of his team-high 22 points in the first half as Alaska led 31-33 at the break. The Nooks started the second half strong after a Brandon Davis three. He had 17 points and the Nooks led by 8, but Brian McGill sparked the run of the game. He finished with a game-high 28 points for UAA. Drew Peterson provided the finish with a tray ball as the Seawolves went on a 10-4 run and led 67-60 with 3:34 left. UAF will make it a 3-point game in the waning seconds, but it was too little too late as Anchorage nailed the free throws and wins 76-71. Anchorage gets the season sweep, improves to second in the conference, and Alaska is now fourth in the GNAC with a 10-5 record after the tough loss, just their second true loss on the road this season.
I thought our man defense was good. We made them work for everything, and we controlled the tempo on offense. We didn't shoot it great, but when you're missing 3 starters like we are, you know, that's going to happen sometime.
I mean, we're not out of it. We just got to keep winning, get a good seed for the GNAC tourney, and then, you know, it's do or die. And I think we could beat anyone. We lost some close games, but if we make a good seed in the GNAC tournament, we can beat anybody.
In Wasilla at the state hockey tournament, the West Valley Wolfpack were picking up the pieces from Thursday's 2-1 quarterfinal loss to Eagle River. They played so high in consolation. The Wolfpack were the Wolfpack we've seen all season. Caleb Moret scored first for West Valley off of a Gabe Rankin assist to start a nice run for the Pack. Rankin would find the back of the net a few minutes after Moret's to add to his career goals mark. Stasia Skorowski would join the party with a big slap shot that's too hot to handle. The Big Three scored the first 3 for the Pack. West Valley led 4-0 at the end of the first period. They added 3 more in the second period. The Wolfpack outshined the Stars in a 7-1 victory. West Valley will play for 4th place Saturday morning at 11:15. The Interior still has a chance to bring back a cup. The Monroe Rams will take on the Houston Hawks on Saturday at 4:30 in the Greatland State title game. Last Friday, Monroe beat Houston 5-0 in the Greatland tournament final. This will be the 4th meeting between those teams and a rematch of the 2013 final. Monroe comes in with a 19-0 record. We'll have highlights and more from the Greatland State title game between the Monroe Rams and Houston Hawks on Saturday at 11 o'clock. Reporting from Anchorage, Joe Cook, 11 Sports.
All right, thanks, Joe. The Lady Nanoks basketball team was in action here in town last night at the Patty Center. Alaska hosted the Central Washington Wildcats for a relatively even matchup through the first half. The Nooks exploded down the final stretch, though, outscoring Central Washington by 9 points in the 4th quarter. Kaylee Schold and Jordan Wilson teamed up to tally 47 points overall for Alaska, leading them to a 70-61 victory. Schold grabbed the game high with 25, scoring 19 of those in the final half. The Lady Nanoks moved to 11-14 on the year and 6-9 in the GNAC.
Just pleased with our defensive effort. We stopped, for the most part, their inside game, especially in the second half, and came out on fire. It was really good to see. I thought our team stuck to our game plan and stayed positive, and that was a great step in the right direction.
And we cap off the Friday Sportscast with the play of the week. This one was a blowout when it came to the polls. Take a look at this. Dustin Sadler of West Valley goes high and just gets the puck over the Juneau goalie. West Valley ends up rolling to an 11-0 win in the MAC title game. Sadler grabs around 75% of the vote this week. To vote for the next play of the week, watch the I-5 Interior Top 5 plays on Mondays during the weekend recap. All right, and that about brings us to the buzzer for sports tonight. Mike Schultz will have your full weather forecast coming up next. Thanks for checking in, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Hey everyone, welcome back into Friday Night Weather. Mike Schultz with you once again, and right off the top, big congratulations to the folks that took care of the Go Red convention today, or the conference. What a great job they did, a great speaker, everybody had a good time, and of course, everybody got educated on heart disease. What's coming up in weather tonight? Well, we're going to talk to you about, again, the clouds on the increase tonight, and then we're looking also at the weekend is still looking fantastic, really great weekend, and of course, no change right on through all of next week, so the amazing winter continues across the Fairbanks area. And the air quality, well, once again, it's going back downhill again. Fairbanks is in a stage 1. That's a moderate category, but North Pole in stage 2, unhealthy for sensitive groups. So keep that in mind if you want to go out and do anything. You have respiratory problems, cardiac problems, any kind of, well, any of the young kids, keep those out too. Keep them inside, just to say. Here's what's going on the satellite and radar. You can see an area of low pressure moving across the southern sections of the state, bringing a little more shower activity, and then more showers across southeast Alaska. But again, the Alaska Range blocking out most of the moisture, though some of this looks like it's trying to work its way in toward the Fairbanks here. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Maybe later on this evening, you might see some possible flurry activity. That's about it. What's going on across the state today? Well, you can see showers around the Ketchikan area, Juneau at 43 degrees, showers there. A few showers reported this afternoon in the Anchorage Bowl, 35 degrees. More showers around Kodiak, 35 degrees, Cold Bay 39. And again, the cold temperatures are on the western side of the state. Surprise, surprise, Bethel at 19, but 0 at Nome. And to the north, Barrow looking at 4 degrees above 0, but they have blizzard conditions underway there. And Fort Yukon 0 with mostly clear skies. Lower 48 weather. Things are starting to quiet down a little bit on the Pacific Northwest. Still some showers around the Seattle area right on down to Portland. The high pressure really, once again, evident, a big ridge of high pressure helping to bring that cool air in across the Central Plains, but it's going to really get cold. In fact, it's the polar vortex making a return. We haven't heard that for a while, and it's coming back in from Canada and expected to bring some of the coldest temperatures of the year. In fact, you can see here the Arctic front arrives. It's arriving tonight, and then tomorrow it'll be pushing off to the east coast, but the coldest air this winter is expected to accompany that, and that means more squalls moving across the Great Lakes there with some heavy snowfall expected there also. And the jet stream, once again, not changing a whole lot until the first part of next week. The jet stream moving from the northwest to the southeast and helping to usher in that cold air from Canada. Okay, time for our weather fact for tonight, and the weather fact is in 1988, Camden, New Jersey had a nor'easter that developed rapidly, and it brought 26 inches of snow to a very wide area across the Northeast. It shows you what can happen this time of year in the Northeast, again, thanks to Mount McKinley Bank. And starting next week, we're going to be having the kids from Wood River Elementary School visiting us for a chance to talk more with kids' weather. Here's your forecast across the northern sections of Alaska tomorrow. Blizzard warning for Barrow, partly cloudy skies for Nome, and increasing clouds for Fort Yukon. Here in the interior, just the opposite. Increasing clouds for Fairbanks and Healy, and mostly cloudy skies for Delta Junction. No precipitation expected. Over southeast Alaska, the rains continue. Showers in Juneau, but rain likely in Ketchikan. While over to the southwest part of the state, we're looking at scattered showers for Cold Bay, a little rain for Kodiak, and scattered snow showers for Bethel. So a little mixed bag of weather there for you. And over the south central regions, it looks like isolated showers for Anchorage and Homer, and snow showers are likely in Valdez. Okay, as far as numbers go, well, our numbers are that it's a Friday night, which means that the weekend is looking pretty good with above normal temperatures. Slopes and cross-country trails will be quite fast with some melting in the sunlight. Lakes and ponds are pretty solid right now. And again, thanks to Beaver Sports for helping us out each Friday night with our winter trails report. Out at the airport right now, 15 degrees. The high currently 9 degrees. The overnight low last night, 7 below. Record high 44 in 1942. 53 below at 1932. And your sunrise and sunset, 8 hours and 10 minutes, a gain of another 7 minutes from yesterday. The forecast for tonight, 8 degrees above zero. How about that? Mild, increasing clouds throughout the night. Tomorrow's forecast, again, looking really good for the weekend, 23 degrees with another day like today. And look at the 5-day outlook. As you can see, temperatures, once again, very nice. Cooling down a little bit by Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to right around 20 degrees for the daytime highs. Overnight lows will also be cooling down a little bit to around 5 degrees, but that for this time of year is unbelievable. And speaking of unbelievable, look at the photograph that was sent in by David Dawson, the auroras over Esther earlier this week. As you can see, a beautiful shot there. And again, as always, be sure and join us and send photos at ktvf11.com.
All right, that was beautiful. Thank you, Mike. Now, before we go, a reminder that KTVF is having another Watch and Win contest running every night during the Fbx Evening News and, of course, News Center Final.
That's right, Daryl. And it's your chance to win 400 gallons of heating fuel from Alaska Fuel Services.
Now, you just look for that Alaska Fuel Services truck sometime during one of the newscasts, and that'll be your cue.
Then go to our website at webcenter11.com, find the contest section, and enter for a chance to win. Good luck.
400 gallons. That's
Could use it.
That's
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah.
All right, that will wrap up this edition of the Fbx Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Well, tonight on NBC Nightly News, a new ceasefire in Syria is being met with quite a bit of skepticism. That's up next with Lester Holt.
Don't forget to tune in tomorrow night for the Interior's only weekend news with Katie Looper and Fussell the Muscle on Sports.
That's right.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a good night.
Good night.